Good afternoon, everybody. It's time for another Chuck Chat. Hopefully you can see my screen. Always like to start off with a little humor. And it's Valentine's, right after Valentine's. So a little Valentine's humor. Sorry, bro, I tried. Let's see. Sweets for the sweet. And these are for you, dear. That's a can of nuts. Every year in the middle of February, something wonderful and heartwarming happens. Tons of candy goes on clearance. I can't think of anything interesting to talk about. I'm so boring. She must hate me. A man who actually listens to me. I think I'm in love. My wife wants a perfume that'll make her irresistible. What have you got that smells like bourbon and cigars? I never should have told him that chocolate makes me horny. And you can see the man's carrying a large box of chocolate candy. COVID-19 in Westminster, things continue to be pretty good here. Since this all began almost 2 years ago, we have 55 cases total amongst our residents. We have 2 active cases at this time, one in healthcare and one in independent living. Light symptoms. Haven't had any hospitalizations with this outbreak in the last few months. Associates to date, we've had 106 cases. We currently have 2 active cases. And again, those are light or no symptoms. Total tested, including resident staff and private caregivers to date, almost 13,000 tests. Our infection rate is still 1.31%. Our infection rate in the Travis County area is around 15%. We're still in stage 5. So our precautions still remain in place. We are almost 100% vaccinated in both associates and residents. COVID precautions remain in place. Residents are required to wear at least a surgical mask. Visitors and associates must wear a mask, must be surgical or better, KN95 or better, required in healthcare and assisted living. We have masks available at the reception desk if you need a new one, so just come ask for one. Visitation is allowed at Westminster with no restriction on the number in independent living. Group visits of more than 2 should occur in the residence apartment home only, so that common spaces are reserved for resident enjoyment. No guests are allowed in the dining room still. Transportation services are at full capacity with masks in place for necessary trips only, meaning unnecessary trips are canceled until further notice. We hope to open that back up in March and start activity trips again. COVID precautions continue. No guests in the audience for activity programs. Quarantine only for those who are symptomatic, traveled on a cruise, or contact with a positive person. Please continue to practice good hand hygiene, washing and/or sanitizing your hands often. Avoid gatherings outside of Westminster if possible. Continue to practice social distancing whenever possible. Stay home if you are ill, even if you're not sure. If you think it's maybe even just extra allergy symptoms or something like that, be better to stay home and stay safe than to take a chance on spreading COVID. Wear a mask when you're outside of Westminster, please. Health center visitation guidelines is visitations limited to 2 visitors at a time. Everyone, including residents, must wear a mask at all times when visiting the assisted living and healthcare center. Residents must screen in, so you have to have your temperature checked and screen in just like any other visitor, even if you're an independent living resident. Questions and answers for February the 18th. Can you tell residents about a new scam that is going on about Medicare cards? Yeah, what's happening is individuals are calling residents, telling them that they need a new Medicare card and then asking lots of personal information. So they're asking for social security numbers and things like that. Don't fall for it. That's not true. Your Medicare card does not need to be replaced. If it did need to be replaced, Medicare would send you one in the mail. Can you remind residents to not use wheeled walkers to be transported in? This has been a conversation via memo. Yes, please use wheel walkers correctly for assistance in walking. They should not be used to transport. If transport is needed, please use a wheelchair. They are available at the Preston and North Windsor entrance for temporary use. Since the completion of the Windsor light replacement project, can you tell us approximate kilowatt savings and cost savings? I'll work on getting this number. I can tell you that we have seen about $2,500 a month in savings in electricity since we implemented the project. There have also been savings on bulb and ballast replacement. So a ballast used to cost us about $120, and that price keeps escalating. And then it cost us about $10 to $12 per bulb, fluorescent bulb, to replace. So we're saving all of those replacement costs as well. But I can't really quantify that with a dollar amount at this time. But we'll try to work on that, see if we can't get you something. Can the Harris Bell Hall steps to the balcony be replaced with a ramp? A ramp has already been purchased and is on site. This is a mobile ramp and can be used when needed. We will put that in place so everybody can see what it looks like and start using it. But there's really nothing out there on the balcony right now. Can you give us an email address for someone we can submit work orders to via email? You can email either reception desk at reception@wmanor.com or Windsor reception@wmanor.com. So use either one of those to submit a work order or an email or just send in a question. Why are we still seeing unsightly water-stained ceiling tiles in the Preston halls? We continue to address this as we are able. There are various reasons. Chilled water line insulation that has failed and is being replaced in some areas. Some leaks from mechanical rooms or apartments above. There's been a shortage of ceiling tiles, and I think I've talked about this many times. Many items, appliances are on short supply, paint, everything you can possibly imagine. They have been on back order, and maintenance is replacing them as they are able. Of course, there may be priorities that pull maintenance from replacing those ceiling tiles, and we're always trying to take care of safety issues and resident issues first. The soap dispensers in the solarium bathrooms aren't accessible to people using walkers or wheelchairs. Can they be lowered? We will address this by adding countertop soap dispensers. Why is the Preston third floor area light switch motion sensor still not coming on until after 5 a.m.? I don't know. We've addressed this issue. We've tested it. It seemed to work for us, but we will address this by replacing the sensor with a manual switch to solve the issue. Why does the resident phone directory continue to show inaccurate and outdated information? We'll conduct an audit to address that. The directory is updated at least monthly. If it's in between the month time that we update it, so there may be some inaccurate information in there, but we do try to update it monthly. We'll conduct an audit and try to see what you're talking about. If you'd like to send us specifics, we'll address that specifically. Construction update, lots of progress being made. I'm not going to go over all of this, but you can see that we're starting the brick and stone on the west side of the Carlisle building, and the glass is starting to be put in place. The frames are built out for the glass, and there's plastic in place for many of it. We're also continuing to work on stormwater lines and things like that. We had to tear up the area by the Windsor North entrance for water line connections with the city. That's why that area was torn up. That's one of the reasons we haven't landscaped up there. We're running up through the Carlisle 1-2 floors. They're doing the sheetrock insulation and sheetrock on the second side of the second floor. Third floor, they're sheetrocking and framing soffits now. They're completing rough-in inspections, and they're insulating and sheetrocking on the second side as well on the third floor. And then they're moving up to the fourth floor. The rough-in wall inspections are being completed on the fourth floor at the end of this week. And then rough end walls inspected on the 5th floor is being completed. It's a 2-week duration, so it's also being done at this time. Making lots of progress with the building, as you can tell. If you watch the camera feed, if you don't have access to that, you can get it on the website, Westminster ATX. Just some highlights, timelines. So timeline for expansion Windsor phase, just some operational timelines. So we've started doing MHAs for folks, the charter members that'll be moving into the Windsor building. On the April 1st anniversary celebration that you should be receiving invitations to shortly, the charter members will come in for tours. And that'll kind of be their open house for the Windsor infill, the expansion, which we'll stop calling the infill and just call the Windsor building. The certificate of occupancy should be on the 4th or 5th. We'll begin moving amenities and offices on April the 11th. And our first move in to independent living Windsor will be April the 11th. It's already scheduled, and our goal is to have every charter member for the Windsor building moved into by the end of May. The Carlisle timeline. So we're getting site utilities completed. The exterior masonry stucco skin is starting, that's underway. Hanging drywall is occurring until May. And then installing the elevators is actually starting this month, or has started this month, and that should be completed by the middle of May. City inspections will occur in October of this year to December. We should get substantial Carlisle completion on 12/29 of this year. And then move-ins will begin for the Carlisle independent living in January of 23. And the move-in memory care and assisted living will occur sometime in January of 23 as well, assuming all the inspections come out okay, which I expect them to. Here's a picture of the Windsor expansion, just showing you progress in the Carlisle expansion building. And I'll try to have a video for you. I gave them some questions about whether or not there's going to be some additional spaces for meetings for residents, and yes, there will be. I'll talk about that more in the future, but one of the things that's going to occur is the when the infill tower is completed, the Windsor expansion is completed, we're going to move the therapy gym to the new location, and then that opens up what is now the therapy or the rehabilitation area to become offices for healthcare administration. Those folks will be moved into that area when it's completed. Should take a couple months, and then we will start to work on the first floor, and you can kind of see the first floor of the Windsor gets a remodel. The admin suite becomes a little smaller, and then we pick up a lounge, a meeting room right here for the board and other resident activities. And then we'll stay away from using the private dining room except for resident activities. And we get a private dining room in the Carlisle building restaurant as well. So that's some pretty exciting things for meeting spaces. We'll pick up some meeting spaces in the Carlisle, as well as the private dining room will have another couple lounges and meeting spaces in the Carlisle that residents will be able to use for meetings. So that should free up a lot of meeting space for us. I think I've talked about this previously, but the solar film or the solar project is moving forward. We are saving over a 25-year period about $1.57 million. We are receiving a huge rebate that's helping us pay for this project. Our cost is going to be less than $473,000, and it will save 510 metric tons of CO2 per year and 1.3 million passenger car miles per year, and the energy used for 92 family homes. So it's pretty significant savings for our community and our carbon footprint as well. You can see that we are in Q1 of 2022, so we're in the scheduling of the Preston and Windsor buildings, and they're procuring the necessary equipment to start the installation. The installation will start in Q2, and that will involve interconnection on the Preston and Windsor buildings. And then in Q3 of 2022, they'll procure the necessary equipment for the Carlisle and schedule that installation in the third quarter of 2022. And then hopefully install in the fourth quarter, so the end of the year. Pretty exciting. Not much has changed in food and beverage. The bistro is open for breakfast and lunch only still. Reservations are required. We have been able to hire some additional staff, so hopefully we'll have that open as its usual schedule. Please make reservations for tables of 5 or more. No reservations required for 4 or less in the Laurel dining room, but reservations are required for any size table in the bistro for now. An AV consultant has been engaged on Harrisville Hall, as I've said in the past, and the in-house channel. We received bids this week. I'll be approving one of those bids to move forward with the installation of the AV equipment in Harrisville Hall. It is some of the equipment's on back order. It may be 6 to 8 weeks before it's installed, or even 10 to 12. It depends on when we're able to get the equipment in. We have started the process of applying for a liquor license, but we run into a snag with regard to our zoning. So we're working through that. The Windsor LED lighting project actually has been completed. The keyless entry system is coming soon, but unfortunately, like with everything else, we've had some delays in receiving the equipment necessary. We probably won't start that project for replacing the locks on the doors until the second quarter. Work has been completed for the infrastructure, so the wireless access points have been installed, so has the electrical components that are necessary for that. So we are moving forward, but we have to get all of the equipment, all the locks in until we can actually start that. New cable service boxes are continuing. I believe they're on the 4th floor of Preston this week, moving up to the 5th floor. And then we'll do the Windsor, of course. Please do not push the emergency stop button in the pool area unless there is a true emergency. That shuts down the whole system, and we don't want to do that. Please don't flush briefs, depends, or towels down your toilet. That continues to be a problem. Hopefully we can stop doing that. If you wish to have an overnight guest, please make sure that you contact the health and wellness office so they can help you achieve that. And do please turn off your car, roll up your windows, and lock your doors when leaving your vehicle. Please do not leave valuables in your vehicle. Wanted to talk a little bit about the fundraising that we're doing for Casa, which stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. This is a great organization that exists to promote and protect the best interest of children who have been abused or neglected by training volunteers to advocate for them in courts, in schools, and in our community to help them find safe, permanent, and loving homes. So this is a great cause. Westminster typically selects a fundraising cause each quarter, and Casa is this quarter's. Please ask you to consider making a donation, a tax-deductible donation to this great cause. You can hand the donation to reception or to Rachel Gill, and she would gladly gather those. Westminster is sponsoring a matching donation of up to $1,000. So it's a great cause, and we ask you to consider participating in its support. Also, I wanted to introduce Westminster's 55th anniversary logo. It's pretty neat. We typically do an anniversary logo every 5 years. We'll probably put this on a polo shirt. We'll have some, we're going to give our associates all one, and we'll probably have them available for sale in the little store as well. It is Westminster's 55th anniversary in April of this year. To celebrate our anniversary, we've asked the Residents Association to put together a committee of residents to produce a book, Westminster at 55. And this is a picture of all the folks that have been involved in the process. I really appreciate all of the hard work that they did for this fantastic book. It's really going to be a great read. I'm excited about it. And just if you see these residents, thank them for their hard work. It's really going to be a great read. It'll be a gift that will be given out in the month of April as we celebrate our 55th anniversary. Every resident will receive a copy. 2022 started off pretty well. We've achieved a couple honors already. Best Nursing Home Honor Roll. We achieved again this year. We also achieved a 5-star rating in January. And so that makes the 14th year for us. We also received recently information on the Gold Award that we're receiving for our annual report. And that's a Marcom Award, a Mature Media Award that we've won repeatedly. This is, I think, the 4th or 5th year in a row that we've received some kind of award for the annual report. So we also received word that Life Care Services has received the J.D. Power Award for Senior Living for the 3rd year in a row. So we're pretty excited about that. And recently, you may have heard that, Carolyn Taylor is retiring. She's been a housekeeper here for 38 years and done a fantastic job. And Scott Thompson, Assistant Director of Accounting for 40 years, is retiring also this year. We'll be celebrating them at the award ceremony later this month. And unfortunately, it's just the award ceremony is just going to be associates only this year. But we will celebrate with these folks and give them a nice send off. So if you see them or you want to send a note to them, just drop it off at reception. We'll make sure that we get those to them. Just a reminder, as always, extraordinary impression cards can be used for any purpose, any compliments that you want to pass on to an associate or a member of management. You can drop them off at any reception desk. HR gathers those and then distributes them to the associates. And then we, of course, collect those, and they gather points throughout the year. And at the end of the year, we give out awards based on those star ratings. Thank you, as always, for making Westminster an extraordinary place to live and work. And until next month, thank you all.